Hello, good people. It's your sister, Reverend Jocelyn here, and welcome to an episode of Reverend Jocelyn Talks, where I get to interview some phenomenal people to hear about their stories of faith, of resilience, and what God is doing in their lives. And so, thank you for hanging out with me today. As my goal is always to help you to grow in your faith, grow in your impact, and for you to experience healing. And as we get started for today, I want to tell you about this sister who I've been very impressed by. I've had the opportunity to connect with her professionally, and her name floats in circles for how amazing she is. She be getting people together, which you're going to learn about in just a minute. But I'm going to take a moment to read her bio. Let me get her bio. I'm going to do the old school version, read from some paper here. After 15 years in corporate administration, project management, and operations, Connie K. now helps coaches and consultants and speakers save time and build businesses that can run without them, which is huge for business owners. As the founder of CKS Consulting and Solutions and a certified clockwork consultant, Connie helps business owners to implement systems, delegations, structures, and AI powered workflows that will help them to overcome those bottlenecks and go to the next level in business. Connie also has an amazing testimony to share. And so she's here to bless us today. Thank you, Connie, for being here with us.
Thank you, Reverend Jocelyn. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Well, I wanted to have you on my show because you are multifaceted. God just blessed you with all these talents and gifts. But you also have an amazing story. You're an overcomer, sis. And so I would love for you to share with our audience today just a little bit about your story.
Sure. I'm happy to share. I think everything started for me in this new chapter of my life when I became a mother. And I was blessed with a little girl. And I always knew I was gonna have a little girl since I was like 16. Even the times during my life where I was like, I don't know about being married. I don't know about, having kids. I was like, I'm gonna be career girl. But then I always knew I was gonna have a little girl. So, I had her about 2.5 years ago, but I was not prepared for the postpartum that would hit me like a bag of bricks. And things started falling apart, and, the things that used to keep me going before was falling apart for me. I tried to reenter the workspace, and I realized, like, I can't do this 9 to 5 anymore. What is going on? And I started losing skills, and then I started seeking out therapy about, like, what is happening with my brain? What is happening with my body? And through therapy, I discovered that I had undiagnosed autism and ADHD. I had both. So that's called ADHD. And this happens a lot for women later in life after they become a mother because the hormonal imbalance actually brought down the mask that was keeping me together for so many years. The high performance, the high masking, the I'm okay mask that I always put on. But now that that mask was gone, I could no longer manage my life. True story. And then I had another challenge too. I was starting to leave an emotionally abusive relationship. And from the outside, this would look like a disaster. I'm newly diagnosed neurodivergent woman. I'm a single mother. I'm leaving an emotionally abusive relationship and I can't re-enter 9 to 5. I was like, this is the worst case scenario. But I paused. I left that relationship. I was able to find shelter with my family. I started living with my uncle and I just rented a one bedroom or rented a bedroom inside his house. And I put my desk in the corner of that little bedroom and I said, that is where I'm going to start my new life. And I started shifting my mindset from this is a disaster to this is an opportunity to design my life in accordance to what I've always desired. This is an opportunity to design my life to my nervous system. I needed flexibility within my neurodivergent brain. And this was an opportunity to provide a new, happier self to my daughter. And that's when I started going into business for myself last summer.
Wow. Ah, that's extremely powerful. I'm almost lost of words here, Connie. And that shift, that shift that you had in how you were looking at things from this is a disaster, woe is me, to this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's huge. Tell me what has happened as a result of you focusing on the opportunity and leaning in with the determination to start your own business.
Yeah. You have to own your shift. You have to own your change. You have to own that sometimes we put ourselves in the way. We say, let's go for this later. I'll do that when I have more capital in my business, or I'll do that when I have more time. No, the shift is right now. The change is right now. It's when you start calling that future self that you've always seen for yourself into the present and you say, that woman is me and I am that woman. I am that powerful creator that I'm not a victim of my circumstances. It was very unfortunate, of course. Any woman who's been through an abusive relationship knows it is the most taxing thing on your mental health, on every facet of health. And you must leave if you're in that space. And I encourage that. Um, People around me were telling me that I shouldn't leave. My own mother said, I had issues in my marriage and we worked it out. And, for the sake of Luna, my daughter, you should not leave. And I think that's when you need to know that you need to trust the discernment that the Holy Spirit is giving you, right? Because we want to listen to our mothers, we want to listen to the people around us. But the Holy Spirit was tapping it and saying, no, keep going. You're on the right track. Even though it looks a little dark right now, even though you do not see the path ahead of you, I know the plans I have for you. And you have to step into that.
Amen. Amen. That took a lot of courage. A lot of courage to do what you did. And in that messy middle, I'm going to call it for what it is, the time in which you make that bold decision of courage to leave, to step out, to move in with your uncle into this little spot, this little corner. You have your desk set up and you have a vision. There's a lot of work that took place, a lot of faith, a lot of tears, I'm sure, between that point and where you are today. So let's talk about that messy middle a little bit in terms of what are some of the steps that you put forward, particularly for anyone right now who might be in a situation where they just left a abusive relationship as well. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they are just going through a very difficult season and they're kind of at ground zero and they don't know where to start. Talk about your story in terms of where you started and were you able to build?
I started with what I already knew. So, with 15 years of experience in corporate, working in project management, I've been an executive assistant. I started offering those services as an independent contractor. I started at an hourly rate. And that was just for the first 2 months. That was starting out. I also, I have to acknowledge that sometimes when you're just starting out, you have to take care of the physical self. So at that time when I just left and I just moved and I had everything set up, I want to say like my emotional life and my mental life, it just wasn't at the state where I could really run a business. I really had to take care of myself. So I worked part-time as an independent contractor in these independent contractor contracts at hourly rate. And then from there, I was able to build myself up emotionally and mentally to get to a space where 2 months later in August, I started my business. And I shifted those independent contractor contracts to monthly retainers. And I opened my LLC and then we were in business. And from there, I also had to realize that I needed to trust myself, that I knew what I was doing, but I also needed to trust when I needed to ask for help. And there's help available to you. Even with limited resources, there's resources in your local area. There's like women's business hubs that can help any new entrepreneur or any new business owner, a side hustle, whatever it is, a new ministry. There's these women's business hubs that can help you, local resources that can get you to the next step. And really, it was community. It was the community around me. I offer my services to coaches and consultants. And you mentioned, hearing my name around the community, especially within MDS. These are the people that I work with. Listen, I work with great people, and that greatness and the power that they had as coaches and consultants, I learned through osmosis. I learned the empowerment that they gave to others. I started applying that to my own life. And I started realizing I have gifts, talents, and abilities that I've never realized and that I've never even offered in a package. And then that's the next step after the independent contractor contracts, after the monthly retainers. Then you go into packages. You start learning how to package what you offer into something that could actually be of value to someone else. And whatever that is, whatever you do, whether it's counseling or consulting or coaching or offering a service, when you work, sometimes you have to work with a coach or work with some outside help. But when you work with that person and you really learn how to monetize your message and learn how to speak that, then you're you're cooking with gas is what we call. You're starting to create that revenue. You're starting to create that name for yourself, and you're starting to create that authority in whatever service or ministry that you offer.
Ah, such gems there. And a couple things that I want to highlight that you shared was that, yes, your name was floating around in circles, but it was because you created a good reputation, which is something that I want people to learn from is that you have to serve people well because the world is small. And when you want your reputation to be one in which people want to refer you and be like, you got to get Connie on your team or you got to get whoever whatever your name is on your team. And so having that in place and then the evolution of, okay, let me just test this out hourly rate to monthly retainer to packages to beginning to really see your value and then surrounding yourself in the environment where unless you are just completely zoned out, not paying attention, if you're in certain environments, you can't help but grow if you're applying and you're taking all this in. So my question for our listeners or those who are watching right now, who surrounds you? Are you
Uh-huh.
surrounding yourself at this moment with people who actually challenge you and call you up into your greatness, who inspire you, who help you to think differently? Or do you surround yourself with people who, they're just they're kind of stuck right now. Still might be good people, but they're not where you're trying to get. Pay attention to that because I think that's so wise. Now, Connie, you started doing all this and you're starting to see things change. And this happened in a relatively short period of time. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, I think I started in August, and then I went to a very powerful conference in October called Story and a Prophet Live. And I think that's when I truly got the confidence to start moving forward. And I had 2 dreams. The first dream was to work by the sea, and the second dream is to live by the sea. So, currently, I'm in my office working by the sea. Like, as we speak, I'm looking out my window and I can see the ocean. Now, my next step is to live by the sea, and that's literally what I'm working on right now. Like, I'll be moving into my own place by the sea with my daughter, uh, next month or very soon after that. So, I think what's important to know about this is not only is it possible, but I think I wasn't able to see the big plans that God had for me. But once you are courageous and you take that step, then God will get you to the next step and the next one. and the next one, and the next one. Even if you don't see that full plan, you are shown the next step. And once you get to the next step, then you'll be shown the next one. But you have to have that faith and the trust that the next step will appear and that people will appear and help will appear and the signs that will guide you along the way to get to where you're going. And before you know it, you have just made a huge progress. You just made a huge leap into who you're supposed to be and who you are created to be. And I'm surprised too. I'm shocked. And I know it's only growing. I know it's only getting better. I know that this is just the beginning.
I completely stand in agreement with you. It is only the beginning, and this is amazing to see how God can just blow our mind. If we take that leap of faith, if we trust Him, if we continue to walk it out, doesn't mean it's easy, but just knowing that it will be worth it, right? And so I
Mhm.
want to continue to build upon that with you, Connie. This has been such an amazing conversation. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back from our commercial break. I'm here with the great Connie, who has such an incredible story that she shared with us about her journey of leaving an abusive situation, moving into a one bedroom, and now starting this business where she is right there seeing the ocean every day. How inspiring is this? Oh my goodness. And so, Connie, I think for some of our listeners right now, they are in a season where they're just like, man, I don't know. I don't know if this can happen for me. Right now, things are really dark and they're struggling. They might be fighting off depression. They're looking at their bills. Math ain't mathing in terms of their income. They also have the healing that they might be dealing with from some past trauma.
Yeah.
So I would love for you just to share some words of encouragement for them right now.
You know, one thing I did when things were really dark was I love the verse that says, write the vision and make it clear. And as I'm looking at my board right now, I see my 2026 vision board. And sometimes you just have to see the light through the darkness. You have to, if you're a woman of God, right, the living, powerful creator God is within you. All right. So the light is within you. I was able to align with my vision because I had the vision written down clear as day there for me to look at. Right. And so no matter how dark it is, the living God of the universe is within you. And that is the light that you hold on to. And then you look at your vision, you look at whatever it looks like. It could be statements that you want to achieve for this year. It could be your vision board. It could be whatever. But you look at that vision and know that I desire this. And what you desire is what you deserve. So hold on to the light that's within you. Hold on to I always call it the whispers from God. In my darkest moments, I always like hear a still small voice. And sometimes it could be a very simple message. It could just be, I am here. I am with you. And sometimes that's all we need to move into the next chapter, to move into the next step, just to move into the next day. Sometimes it's okay to take things a little bit at a time. Like I said, when I first left last year in June, I had to take 2 months. Even though I was working part-time, I had to take a couple of months to recalibrate. At that time, it was living for the next hour and then the next hour. And then before I know it, it was like living for the next day. I got through today. Now let's do tomorrow. And now I can see changes week by week. I go into a new week. We're doing this. We have sales calls. We're going on a podcast. we are, I'm achieving new things week by week. So now it's no longer this survival every 5 minutes, living for the next hour. Now I am looking at things week by week, month by month. And now I'm looking into the next year of how I can grow into that chapter myself in the next chapter of 2027.
Such helpful advice and very real. You're transparent about the hour by hour, minute by minute sometimes. But just that evolution that took place during this time is quite inspiring, Connie, in terms of seeing kind of where you are today. And so thank you for sharing. And I would
Great.
love for you to just spend a little time elaborating on what God is doing in your life right now, particularly because one of the things that I have the joy of doing is coaching women like you to start their what I describe their kingdom business to grow that vision that God has put on their heart. And sometimes that business side can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And I also know some of my beloved sisters, they struggle with organization. They struggle with just the admin side. They see the vision. Oh, they wrote the vision. But the implementation is where they struggle. So help a sister out right now, okay? Let's talk
Yeah.
to her for a second.
You definitely need systems. When I first started my business, it was as a virtual assistant, and then it evolved to consulting. You definitely need to work with some type of team. I always advise new business owners or coaches, consultants, or someone stepping into a new chapter of life to get a virtual assistant. It could be fractional help. I've had multiple contracts where I was working with a business owner for just 10 hours a week. And that little bit of help was basically the catalyst to get them moving forward in their business. So that's the first thing. I also would just encourage you to maybe get some, consulting. Maybe someone can come in with you, do a half day intensive with you, or just spend a couple hours with you. I know my life changed when I started working with coaches, and then my life changed again when I started working with my own one-on-one coach. So I always advise coaching, but I think the first step is to get your own virtual assistant, and you can definitely have a virtual assistant at a part-time or fractional, time. You don't need someone full-time in the beginning. And honestly, those virtual assistants, they're used to the details, they're used to the structure, and frankly, sometimes they're going to be better at it than you, right? So why? And I'm gonna say use this word like this: why waste your time with admin stuff when someone else can be doing that? When you can be using that time to design your business, to work on your business, not in your business.
Huge. Drop that mic right there. Yes. Don't be all caught up in the minutia. You hate it anyway. Get someone who loves that, who's
Exactly.
good at that, so you can focus on the vision. That's where it's at. I'm telling you, virtual assistants have changed my whole life, y'all. So listen to the woman, listen to the woman. Yes. And so tell us right now, Connie, what are some of the things that you're doing right now in terms of services, just in case anybody was interested in learning more about you? What do you offer? What do you do?
Of course. So as a new business owner, I started uh, immediately doing the long days, right? The 12-hour days working in my business, not on my business. It was just like, I was like, how do these people do it? Like, no one told me about this about entrepreneurship. No one told me that I'm like working all the time. My business is running me. And then I found an awesome system called Clockwork. And there's also a book that's on Amazon, $15. It's called Run Your Business Like Clockwork. And it's basically how to work on your business and not work in your business. And I offer a 6-month consulting package where we start from the very beginning from identity and we shift you all the way. And you'll see this transformation by the end of the 6 months where you're even able to take a 4-week vacation. And that's the real thing about Clockwork is that you should be able to set up a business that runs without you. And the other thing I offer is to get speakers on stage. One of the best ways for experts, consultants, coaches, or anyone who's going into their ministry is to get on stage and talk to your target audience. Talk directly to the people that you want to serve. And a lot of people, again, with that structure and the details, they don't know how to get on stage. But there's so much revenue available for women who wanna get on stage. First of all, conference organizers are looking for women to get on stage. they want you to get on stage, right? And second of all, conference organizers do prioritize your speaking fee. So once you start to get experience at speaking, you can get on stage and be seen, get heard, and get paid. So I help speakers get on stage. Whether you're an existing speaker, I can get you into other speaking lanes, such as conference speakers have not even considered corporate speaking or college campus speaking. And if you're a new speaker, I can help create your title and your talk and everything to get you on stage. So if you want to learn more, you can book a free call with me, and I'm happy to talk strategy with you to get you seen, get you heard, get you on stage, and get paid.
Oh, yes. Book that call, y'all. Book that call. Double whammy, and that's a very valuable service. I honestly wish I had connected with someone like you when I first got started because it can be overwhelming sometimes in terms of, like, how to structure your business. Yes, no one tells you that you could be the worst boss ever to yourself, never take a vacation, and work 12, 14-hour days when you first start off if you don't have a system like you described. So helping you to kinda get things in order and be able to further aspiring speakers or thought leaders out there get on stages. That's a amazing service, and I'm very excited to see where God leads you, Connie, throughout this entire process. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Connie, any final words to those who are listening right now that you want to bless them with?
I will steal a line from my coach, and we're working together on I am statements. And I think I said this a little bit before, but I'll say it again. You want to call that woman that you've always known existed, that version of you who is powerful, who's creative, who's strong, who is working in her business or working in her ministry. Call that powerful woman because she's already you. She already exists, but you're calling her into this now, this version of you who you are now. And once you converge with that woman, then you see yourself in a whole different way. You're not someone who I will achieve what I want in the future or whenever. You become that woman right now and you step into the identity of who God really created you to be. And you are a powerful creator. You are a powerful woman and you have a powerful business, idea, or ministry that you're called to. And now is your time to step into that.
Amen. Yes, right now. Thank you, Connie. Thank you for being here. Thank you for blessing us with your story, with your knowledge. God is shining all the way through you. You are that woman. And so, again, celebrating you. And I encourage anyone who's watching right now to go ahead and visit the link in the show notes so you can go ahead and book a call with our sister. But God bless you, Connie. Thank you again for hanging with us today.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, hope you enjoyed this conversation. I told you it's going to be good. And as always, if you did enjoy, do me a favor. You want to go ahead and like this episode. I also invite you to make a comment. I actually read and respond personally to every single comment. So leave a comment on what stood out to you the most. And if you know of someone who's going through a difficult time right now, a difficult transition, I know this episode will bless them. So go ahead and share it with a friend. Also, if you are looking for a coach, then let's have a conversation. I have a link in the show notes as well on how you can schedule a free call with me for us to talk about your vision for your ministry, your vision for your business, how we can take that thing to the next level. And so, all that information and more is in the show notes below. But thank you again for tuning in. I'm so glad that we get to connect week after week. And so, you be encouraged and continue to keep your faith on the journey. I'll see you soon, sisters. God bless.